Welcome to Oakland Is. Oakland is about movers and shakers and image makers, people who make a difference every day in ordinary ways and in spectacular ways. Our special guest today is Mr. Ernie Mansfield. He has his own Academy of Music, and our topic is going to be Mansfield Academy of Music. Mr. Mansfield has spent a lot of time in Paris and other places throughout the world, and I think Berkeley is so fortunate to have him here in the city of Berkeley because he teaches a variety of instruments, including piano, guitar, flute, sax, clarinet. Then he teaches theory, composition, and more. Could you tell us what the more are, those other things?
Well, I'm not sure what the more is, but, you know, I do teach some other instruments. I teach recorder. Sometimes somebody will come to me for other musical instruments. Sometimes people need help with arranging music for, let's say, doing a recording session. So that's why I say more.
And then you help people when they're ready to publish their own compositions?
Yeah, I can help them with that, and I did work for the music publishing industry for many, many years. So, in fact, a lot of the music books that I use, I was involved in the production of those books. Like, for example, Share Music, who does the real books, I worked for them for 13 years, and Chose Music, which is down in San Diego, who publishes the Bastion series of books, pretty well-known piano method books. Well, I worked on those and had a personal relationship with the authors of those books for many, many years. So I had a background in all the teaching methods that I use.
Yes. So you compose a lot of your own music?
Well, I did compose a lot of my own music. Lately, since I've been running the music teaching studio, it's kind of taken a back seat. But I did write a lot of music, and I did. I've written a couple orchestral compositions. I actually got a small commission from Oakland East Bay Orchestra a few years back to do some music, and there were only a dozen people selected to do that. So that was quite. That was quite flattering, and but lately I've focused on my own, just teaching and imparting whatever I know to my students.
There's so many things that I wanted to find out more about because you have such a fascinating background. The connection with Dave Brubeck, because I admired his work so much when I was teaching music. Could you tell us about that connection?
Well, actually, I went to school with Chris Brubeck, one of Dave Brubeck's sons, at Interlochen Arts Academy, actually Dave has 4 sons, and they're all musicians. Chris plays trombone and bass, and then Matt Brubeck, another son, the youngest son, he's a cello player, and he used to live around here in the Bay Area, and I got to know him fairly well, and I've met all the sons, Darius and Danny. Danny's the drummer, and Darius is the oldest son. And in fact, I did, Dave Brubeck passed away recently, and yes. I sent an email to the Brubeck brothers, and I said, the greatest composition Dave created was you guys, because to carry on, they're all fabulous
yes,
musicians.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the fortune of seeing him at the BART station in Atlanta. He was getting off of the BART, and I was getting on. It was like transferring to the other place that I had to go to in the airport. It was the airport.
Wow.
But that was so just a wonderful experience because I thought he was super talented.
Yeah.
I'm sure his sons were too.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. So I looked at your background and your website, and I was so impressed with all the things that you do. And you had a focus on the fact that everybody could learn music or take music at any phase in their lives. no matter how
Right.
old they were or how young?
Well, I have a little slogan on my website, I think, which I kind of borrowed it from someone else, but it says, like, the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago, but this next best time is today. Because, you know, you can't go back in time, but right now is the best time to do anything, okay? So there are, you know, when I go to public places and I say I'm a music teacher, almost everyone has a story. You know, many adults, they say, well, you know, I started music lessons when I was, whatever, 10, but then we moved somewhere, or then my parents couldn't afford the lessons, or I lost interest, and now it's all over for me, you know. And I say, well, no. I mean, there's now, and you can still learn, because I think, you know, we're adults now, but we can always do, many of us have, you know, we just get into this pattern, well, it's all over for me, you know, I can't do anything, but we can always learn more. And the learning process itself will help you. I mean, it's going to help your mind, it's going to expand your mind, and so why not start now?
Start now. So give that quote again. What was the quote?
Okay, so the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago, and the next best time is today.
The next best time to plant an oak tree. Okay, because then if you're planting it now and many years have passed, the point is that it will still be around perhaps in the future.
Right.
The oak tree will.
Yeah, and you know, so you don't want to go around saying, I'll never plant an oak tree.
Yes. Yes. Take the opportunity that still is present.
Yeah.
So that was your philosophy with different people. So how many elderly students did you have over the years?
Well, let's see. I guess it depends on how we define elderly,
yes.
you know, because, but I've had students as old as 90.
90, okay.
Okay,
Yes.
I had, my oldest student was sort of around 90, and I've had students, you know, in their 80s, in their 70s, and in some way, actually, if you're lucky enough to retire, then that's great. You have time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have a busy schedule, perhaps, and you still have time to learn an instrument, okay?
Yeah.
So, but the funny thing about all this is, you know, I've had students, I mean, you know, college students who are like, what, early 20s, and they say, is it too late for me to learn an instrument? And I'm like, are you kidding? I mean, you're a child still.
Yes. So then you're very motivating in your philosophy and approach, it sounds as though. So I had a 5-year-old piano student who actually was a cousin, but I gave a recital with all of my piano students, and he received an outstanding ovation. His feet would not even touch the floor, but he was actually the most popular performer. Do you have any below the age of 5?
I do. I have had students 4 years old.
4 years old.
I've actually had some students start when they were 3.5 years old, but it's kind of young, and I usually tell people 4. Mm-hmm. But I've had some quite talented students at 4 years old. In fact, I do have a recital. I have 2 recitals a year, and my next recital is coming up soon, and one of my youngest students is one of the most entertaining students.
If someone is watching the show, would you welcome them to attend, or?
Well, I would have them call me first.
They need to call you.
Because I don't want to have, you know, usually I do recitals, I say it's for the families.
Yes.
But occasionally, if someone is interested, you know, they can call me, and you know, and if it's workable.
And do you have intergenerational students of all ages?
I have, yes. I mean, most of my students. Well, the recital is just for kids. I have kids from, you know, up till whatever, they could be up through high school. And older than that, I used to have adults perform on the same recital, but here's the problem with that is, you know, young kids expect that adults are perfect, because mom and dad are perfect, right? So,
Yes.
that's a hard hurdle for adult students to perform on the same recital.
I see.
So what I'm going to do in the future is have just more of a casual get-together for my adult students. So that's what I'm going to do.
So you teach different styles of music, and you teach different age groups. So would you say that the majority of your students are in any one category, age group, or?
Well, most of my students are probably between, I'd say K through 12, mostly being maybe somewhere in the middle.
Would you welcome new students if anyone is watching who wants to take lessons?
Oh, definitely.
So your phone number, I'm sure, did you provide that to the graphics person?
I think I did.
Okay. And then do you have a website?
Yes.
Could you say what that is?
Yes. It's mansfieldmusic.com. Mansfield, like my name, music, all one word, mansfieldmusic.com.
Then if they want to reach you and you're open to teach any of the different instruments that they might even, how about violin?
No.
No violin.
I don't teach violin.
Yeah.
My son studied violin. He's in college right now.
Oh, I see.
But he's at one point I thought I might have him teaching, but he's not.
Oh, that's it.
So
Yeah.
maybe something in the future.
So do you have private lessons and group lessons, or?
I just do private lessons.
Private.
So every time a student comes to me, they get individual attention.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Group classes, there's always someone that's left out. Plus, I like to focus in on one person at a time.
Yeah, I was reading something about your practicing, giving students motivation to practice, and if they don't practice, how to help them make up for the lack of practice.
Right. So this is an important thing because, I don't want students to go home and then the parents nag them. Okay, that never works because, if the parent is saying, "Oh, you have to go play the piano," you have to. What the kid is going to say, "No, I don't want to," and then you have a fight.
As we wrap up, I think that is so important for even the adults to realize that they don't have to give up just because they haven't been practicing before they come to your lesson, because you're going to give them some motivation.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
With your Academy of Music.
Thank you.
Mansfield.